Archaeological discoveries are not just a window into the past, but also a reminder of the deeply rooted sorrow and suffering that accompanied human civilization through the ages. Among the most moving finds are those that bear witnesses to tragedies, killers, and brutal rituals, revealing stories of lives lost not only due to natural disasters, but also because of human cruelty and injustice. In excavating old tombs, abandoned settlements, and forgotten sanctuaries, archaeologists occasionally come across remains that speak of torture, death, and sacrifice. However, it was not only people who suffered losses. Their dreams, hopes, and belief in a better tomorrow also disappeared. The tragedies of that era were purely the result of extreme fear, despair, and uncertainty, leaving deep marks not only through material remains, but also through collective memory. Archaeology thus reveals not just physical evidence of the past, but also layers of the human soul written in the dust of time. From mass graves in Ireland, which testify to the horrific consequences of famine, to ritual sacrifices in ancient civilization like the Inca, to traces of disease and injustice deeply rooted in the lives of indigenous ancestors. Every archaeological discovery opens a window into the darkest aspects of human history. Though we can no longer see their tears, the remains and items they left behind carry the messages of their sorrow. They testify to tragedies not only shattered their lives but also shaped the world we know today. The Discovery of Pompeii. Pompeii, a city in Campania in southern Italy, located just 23 kilometers from Naples, is most famous for its ancient Roman ruins, which, due to being the only archaeological site in the world that provides a complete picture of an ancient Roman city, are part of the UNESCO World Heritage. It is estimated that it attracts an incredible 2.5 million tourists annually. The modern city of Pompeii was founded in 1891 after lawyer Bartolo Longo built the shrine of Our Lady of Pompeii, which is regularly visited by Catholic pilgrims today. The city also has an 80-meter tall bell tower which can be accessed by an elevator and offers a beautiful view of modern Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius, and part of the ancient city. The modern city is small but charming, situated in the Pompeii Valley on the edge of the ruins, fully oriented toward tourism, and offers a wide range of hotels, traditional restaurants, and unique shops. The ancient Roman city, built on a volcanic rock rising 30 meters above sea level, was completely destroyed in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius on August 24. Before they were accidentally discovered, Pompeii remained buried under a thick layer of ash for about 1,600 years, until that fateful day Vesuvius was believed to be an ordinary mountain. Then, around noon, a terrifying sound was heard, and lava erupted from the crater of the volcano, with a deadly gas cloud reaching a height of up to 33 kilometers. It is estimated that the eruption released 100,000 times more thermal energy than the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. The temperature reached 300 degrees Celsius, enough to kill people in a fraction of a second. After the monstrous column of volcanic material towered over the city, which was home to around 20,000 people at that time, a rain of stones and ash buried everything within a 70 kilometers radius. Subsequent earthquakes and tidal waves continued until the next morning. Pompeii was erased from the face of the earth. Survivors could only try to find their dead and flee to a safer place. The exact number of victims was never determined. However, life in ancient Pompeii began long before the deadly eruption of Vesuvius. The first settlement in the area was founded by the Greeks in the late 7th century BC. Pompeii, surrounded by walls, served as a safe harbor and a commercial center. The city was later ruled by the Greeks and Samnites, and in 290 BC, the Romans took control. Pompeii, thanks to its thriving trade in wine and olive oil, slowly but surely experienced significant economic growth. For hundreds of years after the catastrophe, nothing was known about ancient Pompeii. Although a few rare remains of painted walls were occasionally uncovered, it wasn't until 1763 that an inscription was found confirming the city's true name, Pompeii. In 1860s, when Giuseppe Fiorelli was appointed director of the archaeological site, serious excavations of the lost city began. Pompeii, as a tourist destination, is full of historical locations. One of the most popular is the oldest preserved Roman amphitheater, which could hold 20,000 people and hosted animal fights and gladiators contests, as well as executions. There is also the Temple of Apollo, dedicated to the Greek and Roman god. During his rule, gladiators' games and theatrical performances were held in honor of his sister Diana and him. The Pompeii Forum was once the focal point of religious, political, and cultural life in the ancient city, with the main square measuring 142 meters in length and 38 meters in width, surrounded by a colonnade of Doric and Ionic columns. Near the Forum are well-preserved baths, a palace with a pool in the center, a courtyard used by young Pompeians for physical and intellectual training, a large theater, the home of tragedy, comedy, dance, music, and political gatherings, a temple dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Isis, private residence, luxurious aristocratic houses, and more. The so-called Garden of Fugitives is dedicated to the victims of the volcano. An old vineyard located behind Pompeii is now the resting place of 13 people who desperately tried to escape the eruption. Plaster casts of their bodies, contoured in horror, vividly display the terror experienced by the city's inhabitants. It is also worth mentioning that Pompeii was known for its brothels or houses of pleasure where wealthy and powerful men lived. These places are once described as erotic delights, but their reality was tragic. Most of the sex workers, as often happened throughout history, were slaves deprived of all basic human rights. The Graves of the Famine in Ireland. The Great Famine in Ireland, also known as the Great Potato Famine, lasted from 1845 to 1852, and is remembered as one of the greatest humanitarian disasters in European history. During this devastating period, more than 1 million people lost their lives due to hunger and disease, while another million were forced to emigrate in an attempt to save their lives. The cause of this tragedy was a potato disease known as late blight, which destroyed the staple food of the Irish diet, causing a mass food shortage and immense despair. Archaeologists and historians have studied mass graves from this period to understand the scale of the tragedy and its impact on local communities. Graves found throughout Ireland, often near former workhouses for the poor, testify to the harsh conditions in which people died. Due to the vast number of deaths, bodies were often buried without names or markers, and mass graves revealed layers of skeletons, sometimes buried with personal items such as clothing, providing a poignant glimpse into the lives of these individuals. Despite the terrible circumstances, families often tried to bury their loved ones near churches and sacred places, even under the threat of disease spreading. The remains of the skeletons showed clear signs of malnutrition, further confirming the severity of the famine. Archaeological research has also uncovered makeshift grave markers, often made from stones, marking the places where families laid their loved ones to rest. The British authorities who were ruling Ireland at that time did not adequately respond to the crisis, and food exports from the country continued even during the worst years of the famine. People simply died, not only from hunger, but also from the consequences of social inequality. Today, mass graves from this period serve as symbols of remembrance and sorrow, reminding us of the suffering endured by millions of people. The dark side of Machu Picchu. Human sacrifices at Machu Picchu were closely tied to the religious rituals of the Inca civilization, which regarded sacrifice as a sacred act to maintain balance between the world of humans and the gods. While Machu Picchu is often viewed as a sacred place dedicated to deities, archaeological findings reveal the rituals involving human sacrifice, primarily of children and young women, were performed at this site. For the Incas, human sacrifices were considered the most valuable gift to the gods. Children were seen as symbols of innocence and purity, while young women were chosen due to the association with fertility and purity. These rituals were often dedicated to nature, deities such as the sun god Inti and the earth goddess Pachamama, and were practiced during key events like solar eclipses, droughts, or natural disasters to appease the gods and ensure the community's well-being. In the area, remains of skeletons have been found with clear signs of ritual killing. Precise cuts were observed on the bones, indicating that the killings were part of carefully planned ceremonies. The jewelry and rich adornments found with the remains suggest that the victims were treated with respect before being sacrificed. One of the most well-known sacrificial rituals was the Capacocha, in which children and young women were taken to high mountain peaks to be sacrificed in locations closer to the gods. The discovery of human remains is linked to research that began in the early 20th century, when American explorer Hiram Bingham discovered Machu Picchu in 1911. During excavations between 1912 and 1950, Bingham's team found human remains in various locations, including tombs and ceremonial sites. Most of the skeletons belonged to women, which initially led to the assumption that Machu Picchu served as a place for chosen women, known as ACLLAS, who were either priestesses or dedicated to rituals including sacrifice. Later, investigations revealed the remains of children, confirming the presence of ritual sacrifices consistent with the Capacocha practice. Although the first remains were discovered shortly after Bingham's research, the true significance of these findings became clear only later. The Grave of Innocence. We return again to Ireland, where you will be introduced to what I can only describe as tragic and horrifying discoveries, specifically the discovery of a grave containing at least 796 babies. This revelation, which was made in 2014, deeply shocked the world, uncovering a dark chapter in the history of poverty, stigma, and institutional injustice. The discovery began when historians and researchers in the town of Tuam in County Galway uncovered a mass grave at the site of a former home for unwed mothers and their children. This institution, which operated from 1925 to 1961, was run by the Catholic Sisters of the Bon Secours Order and was intended for women who had become pregnant outside of marriage, an act that was deeply stigmatized in society at that time. Initial suspicions about the existence of a mass grave emerged when researchers, studying local archives and speaking with residents, came across documents that pointed to an exceptionally high number of child deaths in that home. Official records show that at least 796 children died during the home's operation, mostly from diseases such as malnutrition and respiratory infections. However, there was also serious speculations about neglect and potential abuse of the children. The children who died ranged from newborns to several years old. Further investigation and excavation revealed a septic tank that had served as an improvised mass grave. DNA analysis confirmed the presence of human remains, which caused shock, as there was no official record of formal burials or marked graves, Instead, the bodies of the children were essentially discarded, leading to widespread condemnation of the way these innocent lives had been treated. This discovery prompted a national investigation into the operations of Catholic homes for unwed mothers in Ireland. It was ultimately revealed that many women in these institutions were forced to perform hard labor, exposed to humiliation and abuse, while the children were often forcibly separated from them and given up for adoption, frequently without the mother's consent. The sacrificed children of Peru. Now we found ourselves in Peru once again, specifically in the northern part of the country. In 2080, archaeologists uncovered one of the most chilling and tragic archaeological sites in the world, linked to the Chimu culture. The site located near the town of Trujillo at Huanchaco revealed the mass sacrifice of 140 children along with 200 young llamas. The children were between the age of 5 and 14, and the sacrifice is believed to have occurred about 550 years ago, during the peak of the Chimu Empire's power. The remains revealed horrific details. The children were carefully placed face down toward the sea, while the llamas faced the Andes. These groups were ritually killed, primarily through the chest incision to remove their hearts. It is believed this ritual was performed to appease the gods during major natural disasters. At the site where the children were buried, traces of heavy rainfall and mud were found, indicating the possible effects of climate phenomenon known as El Niño. The phenomenon brought intense rains and floods that could have threatened agriculture and the livelihoods of the community. The Chimu culture was known for its impressive architectural and engineering achievements, but this discovery reveals a darker side to their religious beliefs. Children and llamas were seen as the most valuable gifts to the gods, as they symbolize purity and innocence. This type of sacrifice might have been an extreme attempt by the community to restore harmony with nature.